Let's start writing some codes on strings. So the first code is like this. We have to write a code to print string in reverse order. So let's quickly get started. Let's include the header file. Let's use the standard namespace using namespace std. Okay, and what we are going to do is we are also going to use string header file because we will be using string class way of creating a string. So that's why I'm also including string header file. And let's create a main function now. So I'll write int main, and then in main we'll write return 0. Okay, now let's assume that we have a string with name str, and let's initialize this string with something. Let's say hello strings. Okay, let's say this is my string. Now what I want to do over here is I need to print this string from the end. Okay, so I need to print this string in the reverse order so that it should print s followed by g followed by n, then whatever content you can see on the left side. So in that way it should be printed on the screen. So let's see how we can do this. Okay, so first of all, what we are going to do is let's write a for loop, and let's create one variable called as I. Okay, now this I is going to start from length of this string. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll initialize this I with string length. So we know how we can calculate the length of the string. We have length function that we can call on string class variable, and then you will get length of the string. Okay, and then what we are going to do is we are going to run this for loop till our I is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, because see, index of first character or the first element of the string is going to be 0. That's why I'm going to run this loop till my I is greater than or equal to 0, and in every iteration I'm going to decrement my I. This is what I'm doing. Okay, now let's understand what will be the value of length. So if you count the number of elements over here, so the elements are 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 and 13. See, even this space character is considered to be a valid character. So there are like 13 elements. Okay, so the length is going to be 13. But if you see the last element, the element this one s, okay, so its index is going to be 12 because the index start from 0. Okay, so in order to access the last element in the beginning of the loop, we actually need to initialize this I with length minus 1. So what I'll do is I'll modify this a little bit, and I'll initialize I with string length minus 1. Okay, and now it's very simple. What we just need to do is we just need to print the character on the string on the screen. So I'll write cout str of I followed by no endl actually. So we'll just print the character, and then once this for loop gets over, once this entire for loop is completed, we'll print the end line. Okay, now let's see whether this code works properly or not. So I'll just compile this file. So 08 code1.cpp, and then let's execute it. You can see the string is getting reversed. You can see string is getting printed in the reverse order. Okay, so in this way the program works. You can pause the video over here and you can go through this code and just understand how this code is working. It is very simple, very straightforward. Now the next problem over here is, see, we are just printing the string in the reverse order. We are not actually reversing the string. Okay, so what if we have to create a reversed version of the string? What if we have to store this reverse string into a variable, into a string variable? How we can do that? So it's very simple. What we'll do is we'll create another variable. Let's say reverse string, revstr. Okay, and for now we'll initialize it with empty string. Okay, so whenever string is not going to have any characters inside it, it is called as empty string. So this is an empty string, so I'm initializing reverse string with empty string. Okay, now what we are going to do is we know one operation by which we can push element to the end of the string. We can add element to the end of the string, and that operation is pushback. So we will use this pushback operation, and this pushback operation takes a character that you want to add to the end of the string. So in this case the character is str of I. Okay, so we'll pass this str of I character to this pushback method, and now what this pushback is going to do is it is going to add str of I to the end of the string. So it will keep on doing this till this for loop gets completed, and at the end of the for loop, if you print this reverse string, okay, you will have the reverse string. Okay, let's comment this cout and let's see whether this works or not. So let me go to the compiler and let's compile and execute this code. You can see this code works. Okay, so what we are just doing is we are just using pushback operation to push characters to the end of the string, and we are creating a reverse string, and initially it is initialized with empty string. Okay, it doesn't have any content initially, but then in this for loop we are pushing characters to the end of the string, and then a reverse string is getting constructed which we are printing once the for loop is over. So in this way we can reverse a string, we can reverse a given string. So I hope you're clear with this program, you're clear with this problem statement. So with this, let's move to the next problem statement, and before moving to the next problem statement, let me comment this out. Okay, so the next problem statement is something like this. We have to write a code to check if two strings are equal or not. Okay, so let's say we have two strings, str1 and str2. So we just need to write a code to check whether two strings are equal or not. Okay, so for example, I'll take two strings same, okay, for the first example, and let's see how we can find or how we can check whether both the strings are equal or not. So it is very simple, very straightforward. Whenever you create strings with the help of string class, you just need to use relational operators. Okay, you can make use of the relational operators to check whether strings are equal or not. So you can write something like this: if str1 is equal to str2, we can say that the strings are equal. So I write cout strings are equal followed by /n. Okay, else we can say that strings are not equal. So I write cout strings are not equal. That easy it is. Okay, so what we are just doing is we are just using equal to operator, which is a relational operator, to check whether two strings are equal or not. Now we have seen this kind of problem in, I think, in arrays module. So at the time of that module, we discussed that you cannot use this equal to operator to check whether two arrays are equal or not. Okay, we can't write this logic to check whether two arrays are equal or not, but we can use equal to operator on string class variables, and that is absolutely allowed because this is the functionality which is provided by string class. Okay, we are going to discuss about this functionality, how string class is providing this functionality in upcoming models whenever we'll start with object oriented programming. But right now just remember, you cannot use equal to operator with arrays, but you can use them with string class variables. So that basically means if you write the same program, okay, but instead of using string class, you use, let's say, character arrays to store the strings, then this program becomes invalid. Okay, then this program is not going to work. You always have to make sure that you are using string class to create the strings if you want these to work, if you want this relational operators to work. Okay, now if you don't want to use string class and you want to store strings using character array, okay, ideally this should not happen, but still let's assume that you want to store your strings using character array, then in that case this logic is not going to work. You will need to write a custom logic, and I think in arrays model we have written something similar. We have written the logic to check whether two arrays are equal or not, so you will need to write the same logic. Okay, now let's see whether this program works or not. So I'll compile and execute this code. You can see it is printing strings are equal, and let's say if I change some string and then we'll compile and execute it once again, let's see what happens. You can see it is printing strings are not equal. So in this way it is working.